Marky Worthington Podcast all day.
All day.
Dream by night.
Don't buy me a drink. Just give me $10.
All day.
Go down to the strip club with your floppy disk and turn it into a hard drive.
Yeah, right. You'll get fucking thrown out by Big Tony.
We're here to name names and make people feel more ashamed for shit that they're not proud of.
Don't blow it. Keep it simple. Count your money.
No, whatever it is.
Welcome to the Marky Worthington Comedy Podcast. This is episode 92 with return guest of the show, Tim Jacobus. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
I couldn't leave the fans waiting. We covered off, and I want to say this at the top of the show. We covered off a lot of the Goosebumps series and all the regular questions that you see online, people post and all that sort of stuff. You know, as in regards to, you know, your writing style and all that sort of like regular stuff. So if anyone wants to listen to the questions that people are mostly ask, that's in the previous episode. I'm going to have a link in the bio to the last episode that I did with Tim. In this one, I want to sort of just have a bit of more of a general chat about Goosebumps still, but I want to also like chat about some of your like earlier years, what bringing growing up and all that sort of stuff, things that we didn't have time to cover in the last one to get more of a holistic picture of yourself.
Yeah.
It was the best leave last time because you just at the very end, I remember you just being like, well, you know, I could probably talk about when I backpacked around America when I was younger, but that's probably it for another time.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, there we go. We'll hit that one and take it from there.
Yeah, that's where we'll start the bidding for the auction of the Canberra's cheapest podcast with the largest range. I think out of all of the podcasts that have a budget under $12.50, I think I've I've hit the furthest distance from my geographical location. Don't let this fool you. That's a green screen behind me. I didn't actually have original prints of Tim Jacobus art put up in the studio as sound deadening. I'm showing too far behind the curtain, but yeah. The lead up to this interview, I reread the It Came From New Jersey book, and we were chatting a bit about that before we got into it. And I found this when I was trying to, because I didn't get it when it came out. I added that to my collection because I already had the Goosebumps series. So I sort of reached out to some of the other books, like like It Came From New Jersey, and some of the tinned box sets. They made these like sort of like a cookie tin,
Right.
but it had like some special edition books in there and that sort of stuff. I think aside from Kiss, you guys had the biggest range of merch.
We did have a wide range of merch. It went as far as glow in the dark boxer shorts with that Goosebumps on them. So yeah, we weren't shy about what we would put that Goosebumps logo on.
I tell you the extent of the merch reach. All right. So when I was about, I don't know, 12 years old, we bought this house that was built in the 60s, and they'd grown up. There was 6 kids in this house and a single mum. And the treasures you'd find if you're digging a hole outside to, like, you know, do gardening or whatever. So this house was built in the 60s. The kids grew up in the 90s. I'm deciding I'm going to go and do some gardening, you know, young kid. Parents encouraged me to go outside. I might have been born in the 90s, but I was raised like I was born in the 80s, you know, they just go outside. Yeah. So I'm digging the hole, and I see this like piece of colored plastic, and I pull it out, and my brother's actually still got this to this day. We dust it off and wash it, and it's one of the Goosebumps rings with 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 like the monster blood guinea pig thing on the front of the ring.
An excellent find in the garden.
I tell you what, man, I'm definitely going to have to wear that one day. I'll just pull up on my bike out the front of a cafe, get out, walk over, Goosebumps ring. But yeah, that's the extent of the merch. So yeah, it was cool to see be able to get so much variety out there, and I think that really helped push the brand, like because people are interested, like, wow, what is that? What where did you get that from?
Yeah, so yeah, the books were doing well, and as it went along, and they, you start with this, the typical merch, and then after a while, you're going, all right, well, stuff is still selling, so let's try different stuff. Going back to the autobiography, the story behind that was they decided they were going to do a biography on R.L. Stine. It was called It Came from Ohio. I got a chance to do the cover for that as well. And, the idea was, well, let's let, the fans of Goosebumps get the behind the scenes of R.L. Stine, where he came from, and, give him an opportunity to tell his story. And that did pretty well. And so we went to them and said, hey, that R.L. Stine book did good. We have this story that we tell at the schools for kids. Maybe we could put this together as a book and just do a spin-off and call this one It Came from New Jersey. And then they could be sold together. And at first they were like, well, I don't know if there's enough interest in your story, but what we should do is let's incorporate pictures into this book. Now, if we do that, we have to cut the number of pages because the books all have to be the same price point. So in order to put a high quality paper in there that we could print pictures and paintings and photos of when I was a kid, we got a chance. So I think the book is something like 60 plus pages long, where a typical Goosebumps was around 120. So that made it easier because, I'm not a writer by trade. And I just kind of wrote it stream of consciousness. And they then took it and gave it to a woman named Tracy West, and she's an experienced writer, and she was the one who organized it into the fashion that it is. But it is all my words. She used a lot of the silly quote things that I would put in there, but she really structured it so that it read coherently, instead of, when I wrote it, it was a linear, I was born and last page was, and now it's today. So mine was a little, a little more dry, but putting the pictures in ended up being fun, and we could do some how to draw stuff in there. Now, they did the most minimum run that you can do for a book, just to save on cost, because they weren't sure how many they were going to sell. And it sold okay, but what that has made happen is now it's become an incredibly rare book, and the fact that you have a copy is way cool. Back in the day, I gave all mine away, and the only one that I have is one that I bought, used. And it's from a school library. It still has the library card pouch in the back, and there's some scribbles in it in a few places. So if you have a copy of that, it's got some value to it, and it was fun to put a book together. And it's fun when people show up at cons and they've got a copy of that. So I love seeing it and signing it.
Nice. Yeah. Mine's a signed copy as well. So, I mean, if anyone's got a spare one, you can lend Tim. He wants to read it.
Well, I've had people try to give them to me, and I appreciate it. They should keep theirs. I like my beat up library copy. That's cool.
Yeah.
There was a time where I had boxes full of them and I couldn't give them away. So it's nice now that they're all out there, and it seems that the people who have them really want them.
Yeah, scratch that. Tim doesn't want it.
That's not quite what I said, but okay, let's go with that.
Yeah, but you got to understand, in today's society, people need information in 30 seconds or less. Like Tim
hates that book. Don't send it to him.
Tim likes his copy. I've got a version signed by Tim. He's got a version signed by Mrs. Needham, the library
That's right,
teacher.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I owe $4.95 in late fees.
Yeah, you didn't get the book. You inherited its return fees. That book is cursed in the way that it has about 14 grand worth of late fees on it from the 90s. No, I actually really do enjoy. I enjoyed that book because I'm used to R.L. Stine's writing style. And it was good to see read a Goosebumps, a book as part of the Goosebumps banner that was written by someone else.
Yeah, it definitely had, my voice, even though someone else took it over, it definitely had my voice in it, which I liked.
Yeah.
Obviously we were trying to be as tongue in cheek as possible, and but still be able to, keep you entertained for 60 pages.
Yeah. Well, it took me as long to read it now as it did when I'm a kid, so I didn't get any better at reading. I
haven't gotten any better at writing either, so we're both on the same page.
If it makes you feel any better, I still put my finger under each word and sounded it out. But that's the reason I'm still talking about Goosebumps. There's so many books, I only just finished them. But that's good. It's kept me entertained all these years, which is good. And the bit I was going to ask about the book, the intro, where you kind of create this narrative of like the similar style of Goosebumps. Was that written by you in the style of R.L. Stine, or was that done later?
So that was done later. When I created the cover, which was based on a story that a kid wrote to me and said, I imagine you being this monster, sitting there with a tail while you draw the pictures. And I went, that's a brilliant idea. I like that. So I did the artwork for it. And then this woman, Tracy, who wrote the book, she saw that. So that was her undertaking. The actual biological biography stuff is written by me, but she leveraged her best R.L. Stine and came up with that little segment. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It was like I said, it was good to just see a different style of and also the play on the title. Oh, this is the best thing. We're promoting a book that no one can buy. Go out. Okay.
And this is why we're struggling, both of us, for $12.50 a month.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, look, I can't buy it because I've already got a copy and I had to save to get that. So no, it's actually good though, because I think that people that searched for it and got it kind of get like a good payout, because it's not just the story, but like I said, those pictures and the stories in there are really cool. One I wanted to mention was the first time you see when you like bailed on a horror movie. That's yeah. Stand By Me's got nothing on that shit, dude. That was a story about four guys sticking together. This was a story about and you can fill in the blanks here, but from memory of reading the book, there it was just literally the movie was it was a bit much, so you just bailed on that. Is that what happened? Like a OG horror movie?
What I haven't read the book in a while, so I'm drawing a blank on what I did.
Yeah, well, welcome to the Marky Worthington Podcast. We do all of our research here. We make sure that we're all up to date.
Now,
And
this is the best time. You tell me, because I don't have any memory, so it's gonna be like a brand new story to me.
Yeah, well, this is this is the section of the podcast where we both make up a story, and the other one has to pretend they remember it.
Perfect.
No, it's but basically there was a section there where it was explaining that like you yourself growing up didn't sort of have all these sort of like, you know, scary kind of like
No, that's 100% true. I was not the horror guy. I was the kid who, when we went to the movie theater and there was a scary movie, I would be the first one to bail out and go to the payphone and call my mom and ask her to come and pick me up. So the idea that, all those years later, I'm the guy who's scaring everybody else who's, 9, 10, 11 years old is just, actually what I think, I've had time to think about that. I think that worked itself because if I was a real edgy horror guy and I was in way deep, I think I would have a tendency to create art that would be maybe a little too much for that audience at that time. But the fact that I'm kind of a horror light guy myself, I think I have the tendencies of an 11-year-old kid in my old ass body here, and it just seemed to work.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think that like, there's a reason that R.L. Stine didn't choose Rob Zombie to do it, and
Exactly.
Yeah. A House of 1,000 Goosebumps, but I think that you're right though. I think that even as a kid, I think that it really did well at tiptoeing on the side of like my parents still let me read it. Like it wasn't like there was certain like my old man, right? My old man's born in 1957. Okay, now someone already knows one of my security questions to get into my $12.50 a month. Anyway, unrelated, my favorite childhood cartoon was 101 Dalmatians. Oh, there's two. Whoops. But he was saying that he remembers the drive-in, going to the drive-in, and he went in, and in Australia, a lot of the towns are like a good half an hour apart. In most like rural areas, most of them are longer. So the next town over had a drive-in. It was about a half an hour drive, but he used to ride a motorbike. So he goes over on his motorbike to watch the midnight drive-in and just lays down a swag next to the bike and lays down and watch a movie, right?
All right.
The movie was Howling. So he has to ride back at like 2 o'clock in the morning on his motorbike through the bush. Which is like the forest. We call the forest the bush here. And after just watching a movie about werewolves. So his experience was that is the scariest movie he's ever seen in his life. So when we were kids, we could watch a lot of crazy movies. Like I remember I watched Terminator 2 when I was like 4 years old. Like it was... nothing was off, and to be fair, Terminator 1 was a horror movie in my mind. It had that like relentless serial killer vibe.
Yep.
So I was seeing both of those when I was a kid, but he was just like, nah, mate, not Howling, not till you're older. And then so we'd sort of put it on this pedestal, my younger brother and I. You might remember he's got our version of the Super Bowl ring, the Goosebumps one. I mentioned my brother just before. So we finally got to the age where we're like, all right, we can watch Howling, and we're like, Dad, this is the corniest movie we've ever seen in our life.
Yeah, but it's all time and place, and if your dad took his car to that drive-in, it wouldn't have had the same impact. It's the vulnerability of being on your bike and, you know, heading home, and you feel exposed, and, you know, yeah. Yeah, I remember, you know, your dad and I are very close in age. And I remember going to see The Omen, and how much that just freaked me out. And same thing, you know, driving home in my car by myself, you know, again, where you're not by where there are houses, and you're kind of out in the middle of the nowhere, and you're just looking around going, I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
Yeah. You're right. The experience paints it all, and I think sometimes the cinema was definitely could have been a scary place. You know, dark. You know, you don't know everyone around you. There's like sort of additional elements at play there. I also think that whole the cliche of reading the Goosebumps books with the flashlight under the Duna cover also created a good feel about it. Like, I have a version. There was a series. I think there's about 5 books in a series. I mean, that had like a little swivel light in like a hard cover that like came out from the side, so you could read it at night time.
Oh, neat. Oh, yeah. I do remember those. Yeah.
So yeah, I've got that as part of the collection. It's one of those things where I sort of I didn't venture too much into the choose your own adventure stuff, like the Give Yourself series. I have like sporadic books here or there, but I have the original 62 as part of the collection. Actually, I have the original 62 times 2, because I had to buy so many bulk lots to get one book that I didn't have. I was
going to say, to get those last couple, it's tough.
So
and
I went
harder. So if you have 2 full sets, that's you're one of the few people I know that has 2 full sets. Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize I did until I was like, all right, I have the full set, and I just had a box of doubles. So I went through and I was like, wow, actually, I have 2 full sets plus doubles. So I've sort of went through there and just chose the best of each one, made one pile, the second best made a second pile, and then just have a third grouping of extras. So it's just one of those things where it just happened organically. I just sort of collected all the ones I needed, and then realized at the end, whoa, hang on, I've got 2 full here. And look, some of the like C and D versions definitely have the librarian's signature in there. Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. Like seeing some of the, because I looked through them as well, and you see, like, I had one that had like a in Australia we had $1. Oh, I mean, everything about Australia is 10 years ago, except for we don't have $1 notes anymore. And we have $1 and $2 coins. And then our notes start at 5.
Okay.
So one of them had a $1 note as a bookmark in there, which is pretty cool, because they were even phased out after the Goosebumps series, but someone had obviously kept that as just a bookmark, or something.
Cool. Yeah.
So you find treasures like that. The other thing is, at the back of the book, all the things, like, because I'm kind of past when I didn't get Goosebumps as they were new. I sort of like, the series had already been mostly released when I started reading it as a kid. So I sort of came in towards the end of it, but then had this whole catalog to go back on. So I was able to go through and look retrospectively at all these like merch items in the back covers that people could like get newsletters and like all this cool stuff.
Were you able to? Was the stuff still valid? Like, were those addresses still valid, and you could go back and get that, or were they old enough to where that was just nostalgia?
Well, see, I've always been a collector even before something was collectible. Like, I when I buy stuff, I keep it as best as I can in like the best quality that I can. So I looked it up, and some of it was valid, but I just couldn't bring myself to cut pages out of the books to get it.
Yeah.
It was like Catch-22.
Yeah, I got you.
But we were lucky enough. We had what they called like the book fair at school. So Scholastic would have like a whole like it was kind of like picture like a market sort of thing, like a con sort of thing, like some of the events that you have with signings and stuff, where you could just go and buy the merch directly from them, and you could sign up for stuff there. I signed up for the Magic School Bus on VHS, and they were. I swear they're still getting tapes delivered to that house, man. That never ended. I feel like that would be a good way to prank someone. If you can afford to prank someone at a mere $12.50 a month, you can sign up for Magic School Bus, and I'll send you one of the tapes. I'm gonna get some generate some monthly subscriptions where it's just you subscribe to me, and I just send you random stuff from my shed every month, and it's a lucky dip.
Actually, I think you could get a lot of people to sign up for that.
Yeah, if it included Goosebumps stuff, I feel like there's a very, very sought after market for that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's one of those things where I sort of collected it all, and it's difficult for me to part with any of it now because I just, it's all there, but I'm just like, yeah, it's all there. I've read it. I got 2 complete series, but I just keep it and look after it from now and just sort of preserve it how it is. I have this fantasy one day, if I have kids, to sit and read with them again and sort of relive it.
That's cool. Yeah, got to see it through their eyes. And that is one of the cool things about having a kid, is stuff that you've forgotten and don't do anymore, or there's things that you didn't get a chance to do as a kid. So, I live real close to New York City, and it wasn't until my kid was born before I went up to the top of the Empire State Building. Simple things. And I remember going there, and I think I was more impressed than he was that we were there. So yeah, all that stuff, buying, slot cars again, doing racing in the house and all those, building tree forts, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the coolest part about being a parent and getting a chance to redo that stuff that you just, listen, you can't go out in the yard and build a tree fort without a kid next to you, because people are going to call the cops on you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You get to relive a lot of those memories. I remember when we were kids, like a lot of the cool stuff I did with my old man, he'd show us, like we had the slot cars, and we would work in the shed, and like I remember he would rebuild motorbikes in the shed and sit me on the petrol tank, and we'd do the test ride around the backyard, and I'd be sort of just doing all that cool stuff. And I think that brings everyone like those are core memories for me, and it was just a short amount of time, but I relived that stuff so many times since then. I think that's also why a lot of the stuff from the 90s, including Goosebumps, is like such a so hard to get, because now all these kids that can buy it all back are just going out and getting as much as they can from when, like, I do the retro games and everything like that as well. Like I tend to find it's harder and harder to get all that stuff, because it's just not, they didn't make it again after that. Like I buy stuff from the 90s, and I'm like, even if it isn't like the best quality or whatever, I know that the wear and tear on that item is as of that era. Like, it's just, you can't recreate that.
Yeah. Let's just jump back real quick to, when you have a kid, think about that. So the memories for me, and it sounds like for you, are the coolest memories are the ones that were the simple ones. Like, we went on my father took us on vacations, but that wasn't as cool as the first time he let me climb up on the roof with him to fix the chimney. just those little things that at the time you're not, sometimes you're like, damn it, I got to climb up on the roof and fix the chimney. And you don't think, come on, bring the kid with you and let them have some fun. And those are the ones that really hit home. It's not the expense, it's the experience. So anyway.
Yeah, hey, good. That's a good catch on that one. I actually have a similar story. We installed air conditioning on the roof in the house when I was a kid, and my job was to run all the ducts through the roof cavity because Dad was too tall to fit. The best part is I went through the fucking roof in the hallway, so my mum had to. Because before I went,
not everything goes perfectly as planned either. So.
This went as good as it could. I mean, you got a 4-year-old, 5-year-old manual labor. Like, what do you expect?
Running ductwork.
Yeah, before I got he's like my old man is the best at that. He'd just be like he'll complain about unskilled labor of a 4-year-old because the level of quality isn't up to what he expected.
Come on, that apprenticeship that went on for the first 3 years of your life. You should be a journeyman.
I should have rocked up at the end of high school to a building site and went, I've been doing this shit for 20 years. Just give me a full-time job. But yeah, I remember walking through that. He was like, only walk on the beams, not on the bit in between the beams. But when you carry in the duct and it's like twice your body weight and you're like a little strong man there, I was running the ducts and I've put my foot on above where the hole was, and I felt it crack and my foot goes not completely through, but if you're in the hole, you would have seen the imprint of a boot. Like my younger brother thought Santa come early that year, and my mum had to get in underneath and push the foot up with a broom so that I had something to sort of support so I didn't go through. And but I remember that. Good times. The work with the old man, and I'm handy now because of all the stuff that he taught me over the years on fixing things and repairing. I live in rental properties. The Australian housing market is pretty crap. So I'll probably be renting until I'm at least 65. And I reckon that the amount of hassle I've saved myself by just knowing how to sort of quickly fix stuff.
That's so my dad had no building experience until he bought his own house. And at the time, and the same thing happened to me where, okay, I now have this place, but I can't afford to have somebody come and do the plumbing or, fix the light switch or for in my father's case, build the second story. And he just took it upon himself. And because he had that attitude, he passed it along to me. So yeah, it's one of the best things that now, I've been doing it now for, since I was 10, and I've got some skills, and I've saved myself tons and tons of money by being able to take care of stuff myself. And, there is a line you draw where I know I can do stuff okay, but if you want something done really nice, it's great to bring over the guy who has all the skills and watch a professional do it and have it come out, pristine. Then you go, oh, that's how it's supposed to be done. But to not be afraid of any of that stuff and just dive in. You get a lot of satisfaction out of that, when you fix something, especially if you don't, especially today. I talk about this endlessly. So you used to just have to figure stuff out. Now, no matter what job you do, you just go sit down and you dial in YouTube and you say, I'm putting in a compressor for, a pool that was, from 1968, and it's a Haywood pump. And this is what, all of a sudden there's a guy with the exact compressor on the exact pump, and you can see somebody who knows what they're doing fix it and go, oh, okay, I get it. So the information that's available now makes it so much easier than, okay, it's broken and I don't know what the hell to do now. I've used all my skills. I put the wires in every configuration I can think of and it still doesn't work.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like I do things around the place with that mentality, and I think, like you said, it was instilled in me from that young age.
Yeah, don't be afraid. That's the whole thing. And if you break something, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. I can tell you, handy Tim. I've seen those pictures in the background, exactly the right angle, not turned to one side or anything, exactly the right. Not tilted at all. It's 100% exactly how you want it. That looks like you've had your measuring tape out there, your Stanley tools.
The tools are out a lot. We break them out a lot.
That's what I like about that old style mentality of that my old man brought. Because here's the thing: I have friends where my dad is closer to their grandparents' age when I was growing up, because my old man was like 35 when he had me.
Okay.
So I found that difference in upbringing, because also my nan was a single mum. Well, she remarried, but she oh no, I'm giving away too much. But basically my nan was the same age gap that my dad is to me, between my dad and her. Okay. So we cover quite a large range of generations between just three. Some people it'd fit four in that same time frame. Right. So my nan was in the Second World War, and she brought up my old man with a lot of that can-do attitude, and I think he passed that on to me. So not only does it come from dad, but it's like an intergenerational thing that comes down from my nan having to fend for herself a lot of the time, and just have that tactical thinking. Nan was born in 1923. That's 3 questions towards the look. One day someone's going to go through all my catalog of episodes to try and find some information about me, and I've got them to the point where they can apply for a passport now. So they might do more traveling under my name than I ever will. So congratulations to the person that just won. Look, for a mere $12.50, you can travel the world. Hey, speaking of traveling though, oh geez, that was too professional. That segue, I'm gonna have to tone it down.
Let's edit this in post.
We're leaving it in. They should know the truth. But speaking of traveling, we mentioned at the top of the show that you did some backpacking. Well, what do you call it? Hitchhiking? How do you call it in the States?
Backpacking is when you head into the woods and you're away from everybody and you're up in the mountains and you're camping. Hitchhiking is when you're standing on the road and you put your thumb out and you're looking for someone to give you a ride, and you're moving from town to town. Or in my case, I had just finished high school. Friends of mine, it was the fall, and friends were already at college. So another friend and I just decided we were going to travel all around the United States, stopping at friends' colleges to hang with them, going to visit some relatives, but taking the opportunity to see the United States on a low budget. We were on our goal was to only spend $5 a day. And it's kind of hard to do, but we kept it pretty good. We did sleep in sleeping bags in a tent, but we would always go to a campground. We weren't, occasionally you would get stuck and have to sleep, in an overhang, or in a bathroom, or something like that. But that was very, very rare. Mostly we were at a campground where we could get a shower And then when you're visiting people, everybody loved when we showed up, and had a few stories to tell. And we were able to cover 36 of the 50 states. We were on the road for 3 months, and it was, again, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier about it's not the expensive trips that you remember, but this thing was so, at the time you go, oh, this is just, we're doing this because we don't have money and we can't afford to take our own car and drive around the United States. We need to do it because we can't afford to do that. But it was such an experience. You meet so many different people. It's now a thing that no one does anymore. It's, to be perfectly honest, people say they don't do it anymore because it's too dangerous. And I don't know if the world is different, but I don't know if it's that different. I still think we were picked up by every type of person you can think of, and everybody was super nice, super generous. Some people just brought us back to their homes and said, oh, you could stay here, I'll feed you, and I'll take you back out to the interstate in the morning, and you can continue on your trip. 99% of the people were overly gracious and nice. And then of course there's 1%, and there's 1% where it goes real bad, real hard, but hopefully you get through those. And because there was 2 of us, nothing got too out of hand. But if I had told my parents what was going on while we were on the road, they would have died 1,000 deaths. Yep. So again, remember, this is no cell phones, so there's no communications. Payphone was the only way to do it. We had paper maps in our backpacks, and that was the only way to find your way around. And again, we also did a lot of, the people who picked us up would say, well, where are you going? And we would say, I'm going here. And they would go, well, I'm going here. But, if they were covering a large distance, we'd go, all right, take us there. And we've never been there, so let's do that. So a lot of the trip was just make it up as you go along. And it was really a tremendous experience. The memories are great. And I had always, when I started the trip, I had lived in New Jersey my whole life. And when we started the trip, I was thinking, oh, you know what? I'm going to find the perfect place to live while I'm on this trip. And then I'm going to then come home and maybe go to art school there, or, go to college there, or finish schooling in New Jersey and then go move to this new Shangri-La that I thought existed. And traveled around, and we saw, like I said, 36 different states. And after all of it was said and done, when I got home, I went, I live in a pretty good place. And I've stayed ever since. And it was, I wish people could experience that, that fly by night type experience, because everything we do is so planned and regulated, and we get overly concerned with how things turn out. And this was, well, let's just see how it turns out. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. But I would have a real hard time if my son said he was going to go do it.
Yeah.
I now that I have the perspective of, at the time I just went, oh yeah, this is the greatest idea. But now as a parent, I can only imagine. I give my parents a lot of credit for not saying no, or giving me they just, they were very accommodating with, the ideas that I had. And that's harder to do as an adult. Like, it's easy to be a wild man kid and come up with stupid ideas. There's no shortage of stupid ideas when you're 17 and 18, but it's for them to go, all right, we'll back you up on this one. I give them tons and tons of credit, because even now, like I said, I'd have a really hard time if my kid goes, all right, yeah, I'm gonna grab my backpack and gonna go hitchhiking around. I'll see you in 3 months, and I'm gonna leave my phone here.
Yeah, yeah. And make sure you've got your paper map before you leave.
Yeah, exactly. Paper map. Yeah, exactly. With a pen, so you can mark where you are and circle stuff. And
yeah, and it's only one pit stop with no toilet paper off being gone too.
No, you always had toilet paper in your backpack.
Oh, right.
That was a must-have all the time. Even if you had a steel roll from the campground, no matter what, you had some decent toilet paper with you.
Yeah, good. Okay, there you go. This is the Bear Grylls of New Jersey.
Yeah, but that's just it. We were never too far off the beaten path. I mean, we would walk in a store and buy a sandwich.
It wasn't too bad.
We had canned food in our backpack for those times where we couldn't get anywhere. But like I said, we're on a $5 a day budget, so you go over you're in the campground. You go over to the store, you buy a can of soup and some tuna fish and a loaf of bread, and you make sandwiches and you have some soup, and okay, we're good. We're inside our budget. You throw the rest of the bread in the backpack, and away you go.
Yeah,
no Bear Grylls stuff. We weren't eating bugs and building shelters with bamboo and trapping animals. None of that stuff.
I had one of my early jokes I did on stage was, I wonder if Bear Grylls' wife watches the show, because if so, he's got no excuses when he comes back to not do housework and shit like that. Because she'll just be like, I just seen you eat a dead bat out of a cave. Come on,
don't you dare complain about the pasta meal I just made.
yeah, exactly. But no, that sounds like a really. So I did a little traveling when I was younger. There's if you look at a map of Australia, there's a small island off the south called Tasmania. And it's part of Australia. It's considered another state of Australia, but it's separated by water. And it's where the last Tasmanian tiger was, which is like a sort of a marsupial type. It's technically a marsupial, but it's actually a kind of more like a dog. Anyway, I did some travel down there, and we spent time in caravan parks while we were waiting for a house to become available. And like you said, it's all the little things. Like I have old like home camcorder footage of my brother and I digging holes in the campground, next to the caravan. There's a dirt mound, and we're got little army men and stuff in there just hanging out. And while my dad was filming us like a creeper, but
okay, Burr.
yeah. That was a Bill Burr reference. If you do you listen to the Bill Burr podcast and stuff?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm glad you got that reference, because out of context you'd think that I had Tourette's or something. But it's funny to this day. I'll show my brother. I'll be like, hey man, look, check out this old footage I found. It's us digging a hole. And I'll be like, well, our dad filmed us in the bush. But we actually had a guy, you're talking about being close to New York. I had a guy from New York on my podcast. He's a Canberra guy now, but he grew up in Brooklyn. And he's in a local band, and I had him on the show, and he said that he used to go to L'Amour's to watch bands, and he worked in near the Diamond District as a a precious metals alchemist.
Wow.
So he basically used to melt down platinum and all that sort of stuff as his as his full-time job. You just go into this room and just sit there making sure that you've melted it down into bars after getting orders from all the jewelry shops, and you'd taken blanks in the form of jewelry that, like, for designs that they could finish up or sell on or whatever. So he's got some pretty good stories from that area. So it's he said that his uncle was into cars. This is one that my old man really liked, this like little add into the story, because he's got that like thick Brooklyn accent.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Can't forget about it.
He goes, like the first time I ever seen him out in the wild, one of my buddies, I go into a kebab shop and he's like leaning over the counter, he's going, "Make it good." And they'll and the guy behind the counter is just trying to keep calm. He's just going like, "Sir, we make all of our kebabs the same way. It's a standard ingredients." And he's going, "Yeah, but make mine good. Make it good." So yeah, that's my buddy Tony. But yeah, he
said his name is Tony. Of course, his name is Tony.
he's the mad scientist of precious metals. But he spoke about his boss, who's like an Italian Brooklyn guy, but like was in his 80s back then. So like this guy's lived it. He said that guy wouldn't stop on the subway for anybody. 80 years old, he'd throw the biggest guys down if they got in his way, you know. He said even like they'd be going through town and there'd be like a guy, you know, just throw rubbish on the ground or whatever. And most people just keep walking. This guy would be like, "Hey, respect the city," you know?
Yeah. Pick that up.
If he can, yeah. Pick that up without your hands. So that's the Tony stories.
So this is the late 70s. One of the jobs that I had was I was a lifeguard, and obviously, you know, the beach is the busiest on Saturday and Sunday, and we always, as lifeguards, would get off Monday and or Tuesday. And because we worked at the beach on your day off, you are totally fed up with the beach. So we want to do something else. So we used to always go into the city. Now I live 40 minutes from Manhattan, and I don't know how much of the history of New York you know, but there was a time in the late 70s where it was called the Summer of Sam. And that's when, all the murders were going on in the city, and the city was bankrupt. There was graffiti everywhere. It was a scene out of a movie, and we used to just go in. I would drive all of us in. We hung in a group, so safety in numbers, and we would just get on the subway and we would just go and then go, "Is this the spot?" And then we would just get off the subway and see where the hell we were and walk around and find places. And just taking just a whim and searching around the city. And it was great. The places we found to eat, the cool parks that we found, all of it. New York is it was a wild place. But, we're doing it during the day. At night, it may have been a different thing back then. But, New York City back then was just, it was incredible. It still is. I mean, It's not, it's no scarier. People talk about, oh man, New York's really changed since the pandemic. To me, it's kind of, we've rolled it back to that, to that Summer of Sam, and it's a little wild, but you keep your head on a swivel and everything's going to be okay. Yeah.
You probably remember the if you listen to the Bill Burr podcast, the story about young Billy going from Massachusetts, like in the suburbs, over to New York for the first time, and the guy rips him off for the cab, and like he gives the dude the money, and the other New York cab driver just comes over and just sounds like, "What the fuck are you doing? What? No,
that." Yeah, and there are lots of people like that who, they would see us thinking we were, again, we're kids with tans. Obviously we've been at the beach. We don't belong where everybody's pasty white, and they would come over and say the same thing, and we're like, don't worry, we know what we're doing. Yeah. Keep your money, keep your real money in your shoe. Keep a little pocket change in your pocket. So if somebody does show up with a knife, here you go, take my money, but you didn't get the real money. The real money is in my shoe. So
yeah, exactly. The old money trick, eh?
It was a new trick back then.
Yeah. That was the equivalent of saying to someone, "That's my name, don't wear it out," and it was the first time anyone heard it. Imagine just being the first guy to ever be able to say that. I think that if I could go back in time, I would be the first person. I'd go to like a point where I could say that, and people thought I was a genius, not just a hack.
Well, I haven't heard it in a while, so actually you've come full cycle, and it's a little bit nostalgic for me.
Yeah, there we go. Just like the Goosebumps series. Hey, back on track.
Look at us. Bring it right back around.
Now, I do have something to show you. I'm gonna show you a picture from the archives. This is we spoke about this earlier, like in the previous episode. Let me just bring it up for the viewers. I know I'm sort of trailing here. It's because I can't do two things at once. Like Mum used to say, I can multitask. I'm like, Mum, you're half burning dinner and you're holding a conversation. I can't understand. All right, here it is here. So now I don't know if you remember this or not, but one of the first times that we spoke via email was to get a tattoo design done. So I'll just show you.
Yeah.
I'll show the viewers. So this is the original design, and the brief behind it was basically I wanted get that cheddar, but I wanted it done in the style of some Goosebumps covers, which I chose. It was werewolf skin and monster blood with the guinea pig. I think it's monster blood 2. So it was done in that style. So this was designed by Tim, sent over to me. From what I understand, it's a 1 of 1. Now I went down to Melbourne to one of my artists earlier in towards the end of last year, actually around Halloween, and got now. It's hard to get a good picture of a tattoo because it's not on a flat surface, but I went and got this done on my leg.
Wow, that looks great.
Yeah, so that's the final design. That's probably about maybe 6 inches on the inside of my calf.
That's cool. That guy's have you used him before, the tattoo artist?
Yeah, so I'll show another image. So just to give you some context, on the back of that leg, you can see in that picture I had before that there was like the outside of another tattoo. Now, let me just pull this up. This is the first tattoo I got done by that artist. Well, yeah, there we go. Just got to bring up the window. You get to watch. This is some good stuff. You get to watch a '90s kid operate new technology. Come on, just relax here for a second. But yeah, this is the first tattoo I got done from that same artist. And this is on the back of my calf. So just to show people some other work that was done. This is John Candy from the movie Uncle Buck.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So now just around the back of that is the rat.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Guy's talented.
So now that I've finally showed you, I can finally post that. So if anyone wants to see I was sort of saving posting it because I wanted to show you on the show.
Thanks.
But yeah, no, it was really good, and he felt privileged as well because he's also a '90s kid, so he was really happy to do it, and be able to have a bit of a story, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, excellent job. And but yeah, the John Candy one, I mean, he caught the likeness, and that's I'm in awe of tattoo artists. You know, it's one thing to paint on a canvas. You know, it's another thing to be, you know, stippling on, you know, a person while they're there. You know, you're never in, you know, like everything's nice and flat and right in front of me when I'm working. You know, he's bending and twisting, and so are you. So, you know, the stuff that's out now, that is one of the things in my lifetime that's been very cool, is to watch the evolution of that. When I was a kid, the only people who had tattoos were guys who were in the Navy. You know, my dad was in World War II, and he had a couple of buddies, and they had the warship, you know, on the arm, and, you know, the anchors and all the classic stuff. And when I was in high school, it was real rare to see a kid who had a tattoo, you know, and he was not the kid who was, you know, getting the best grades and playing on the football team. He was the kid that was generally in trouble. And now, you know, I went to a horror con last weekend in Florida, and you know, it seemed like you needed to have tattoos on 3 appendages just to get into this place. So, you know, it's the
tattoo on your appendage.
On appendages.
No, I'm just messing around. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, 2 arms, 2 legs.
Yeah,
you know, or at least 3 had to have tattoos on them.
You thought it was a tattoo convention for a second? You went to the wrong one.
Yeah, I swear. And but yeah, it used to have a negative connotation to it, and now it's, you know, everybody's got them. You know, they're all cool.
Yeah, and we spoke in the previous episode about the first time you'd seen any of your artwork tattooed on somebody, and I think that you probably see that grow over the years.
Now it's a, you know, it was a real, like you said, we talked 18 months ago, it was still kind of a novelty, and now, you know, I saw 3 Goosebumps tattoos at this convention that I told you I was at. So you can see them online. That's not that rare, but to see them out in the wild, that's you know, that's cool. And some pretty cool ones too.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to be part of the club.
There you go.
And I think something else that you mentioned from memory when you first designed that is it was good to design something with because from the get-go I'd said that it was going to be a tattoo, so it was helped in the design process in knowing that like it was going to be for a tattoo.
Sure. All art projects, you got to tell me, if you can tell me where it's going and what it's being used for, I'm going to be able to know what to do with it that's going to give it the most impact.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a few other pieces from that guy, and I don't know if you've seen the art style before, but the fill-in pieces around that to sort of blank it out to make the rest of the leg sort of all tessellate together is from a game called Limbo. So it's basically reverse shaded sort of side-scrolling video game, and it's a newer game but has sort of that same 90s video game vibe, so it's going to all just turn into a whole like black and gray leg.
Yep. So and I'm a big fan of the black and white tattoos. That's way cool.
Well, I'm the white. It's I've got half of it.
Well, you got to bring something to the table.
Yeah, exactly. Or to the massage table in this case. But yeah, that's it's good to be able to finally show you, man. I it's been a long time coming. I think that was originally designed in like the end of 2019 with the idea to get it the following year, but then because of all of the delays and stuff in between now and then, it was good to finally see through. I think I had cancelled and because it's an interstate trip to get to see that artist. Yeah. At the time, it was, I think, 2 or 3 times I rescheduled that to finally be able to do it. So yeah, if anyone's wondering, the picture did have the stamp of the artist, but it's by an artist in Melbourne called Dead Cherub, and as in,
Shout out to Dead Cherub.
yeah, as in, he does a lot of horror themed stuff. He does a lot of cool, like sort of reverse shading, smoky background style. Like it's really cool. I've basically just given him my legs to do his art on, which is good and good to close it all up. Now we'll get into plugs and wrap it on that. Happy with that?
Sure.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, I mentioned this in the previous episode before, but I'm bringing it up again. It's a good closeout to the plugs as well. Check out Tim's website, which I'll chuck the link in the description for this. But there is something here that I wanted to bring up just in case it doesn't get in case it's not brought straight to everybody's attention. On Tim's website, it's got a section there about some charity work that he does. There's a bunch of photos there of stuff that's going to people in need. So definitely donate to that. I think if you've enjoyed the episode, Tim's donated his time to do the episode. So I think you should donate anything that you can afford to keep the wheels turning on that.
Yeah, and just the way you support it is buy yourself a print, and that's all. And we take care of the rest. As a matter of fact, there's a super large amount of groceries on the floor in the room upstairs that goes on tomorrow morning. We bring it over. So when it started out, it was just a couple of handfuls, a couple of bags, couple of boxes, and now we're getting to the point where we're exceeding the truck, and I got to take multiple trips over. So the people at the food bank are very happy that we can help out and that we're consistently helping out. So I appreciate everybody's support because it just kind of started out as one of those things during the pandemic where you're going, can I do anything? And it's the fact that it's still rolling, and I appreciate everybody's, everybody helping out.
Yeah, well, all the pictures in the background of my cam here are available in prints as well. I specifically chose things from the website.
Yeah, we have. When we talked 18 months ago, I probably only had 6 or 8 prints, and now we're at 16. And so as it goes along and I can afford it, I'll get a couple of more made. And so we're going to continue to add them as long as people keep buying them. We can chisel away and keep adding more and more prints.
Yeah, and that's going to actually lead into my last bit. So what I'm actually going to be doing as part of this episode is I'm going to buy each one of the prints that's in the photo behind me.
Cool.
As a donation, and as part of this episode, as a promotion, people that share it will go in the draw to get those prints sent out to them as a secondhand thing.
Yeah.
So it all goes around, and people can share share your artwork.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks, man.
So yeah, no, appreciate it, man. You've been very generous with your time, and I appreciate getting a bit more of the story behind just not just Goosebumps, but also a lot about yourself as well. It's been really good having you on the show, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's always good to talk to you anytime. Okay, I'll tease you. Next time you have me on.
Yeah, we go.
I'll tell you about the time I went to jail.
Oh, Jesus. I was going to buy the stuff. Why did you?
That's the way this works.
Hey, look, maybe I'll increase the budget for the show. All right. I'm gonna predict it. Next time you come back, we'll have a $25 a month budget. We'll be able to have multiple prints. I'll be able to show you the follow-up tattoos. Like it's gonna be great. Yeah, thanks for that, teaser. Well, I guess you're keeping me honest, man. Look, whether I like it or not, Tim's coming back. I mean, it's happening. Soon I'll be introducing this as like as a guest on Tim Jacobus's podcast that he's hijacked off me. I'm the producer for your show under my name. Isn't this great? No, but that'd be really cool. I'd love to have you back, man, and be able to chat some more about some cool stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's fun to talk to you, Marky. I do podcasts, but yeah, you're fun. And I hope the people who are listening in enjoy it as much as I do.
Yeah. I if anyone enjoys this, that's a bonus because I've already had everything I could get out of this episode just by hanging out and chatting to you.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, let's wrap it up with that. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'll catch you at the next one.
Don't buy me a drink. Just name names. Yeah, right. Big Tony. You'll get fucking thrown out.
A strip club with your floppy disk.
All day. Make people feel shamed for shit all day.
Don't blow
Turn
it.
it into a hard drive.
Yeah, right. You'll get fucking we're here
Keep it simple. Count your money.
that they're not proud of. Just give me $10.
Hey, right.
Click.
Did you hang up?
No, I just said click.